I always trusted him when he said, "She's just a colleague." Then one night, I got an email meant for her. The subject line made my blood run cold. "Missing you already, love." My hands shook as I read his plans: a secret business trip, a luxury hotel, and a romantic escape. That night, I packed my bags and left the email open on his laptop. When he came home, I smiled and said, "I hope you have fun on your trip." His brows furrowed. "What trip?" I pointed to his screen. His face went pale, and he knew he had been caught. I always believed trust was the foundation of our marriage. Daniel and I had been together for 15 years, building a life in our suburban home in Naperville, just outside Chicago. We had 2 children, Emily and Jake, who kept us busy with school activities and weekend soccer games. I managed a local bakery, pouring my passion into creating sweet delights for our community. Daniel worked as a marketing executive in downtown Chicago, often mentioning late meetings and business trips. One name frequently surfaced during our conversations: Olivia, a colleague he described as a vital part of his team. Whenever I inquired about her, he'd reassure me with a casual, "She's just a colleague." Our life seemed picture-perfect. Despite our hectic schedules, Daniel and I always made time for each other, or at least, I believed we did. We had our routines: Sunday family dinners, Friday movie nights with the kids, and occasional date nights when we could find a sitter. I felt secure in our relationship, trusting Daniel implicitly. However, subtle changes began to creep into our lives. Daniel started working longer hours, often coming home late or leaving early. He seemed distracted, his mind elsewhere, even when he was physically present. Our conversations became more superficial, revolving around logistics and the children, lacking the depth and intimacy we once shared. I attributed it to work stress, convincing myself that every marriage had its ebbs and flows. One evening, after putting the kids to bed, I settled into our home office to catch up on some emails. Daniel had left his laptop open on the desk, something he often did. As I reached to close it, a notification popped up, a new email with the subject line, "Missing you already, love." My heart pounded as I stared at the screen, a sinking feeling washing over me. Curiosity and dread propelled me to open the email. The contents detailed plans for an upcoming business trip to New York City, mentioning reservations at the Plaza Hotel and describing it as a romantic escape. The email was addressed to Olivia. My hands trembled as I scrolled through the affectionate language, the intimate details that painted a starkly different picture from the professional relationship Daniel had always described. A whirlwind of emotions engulfed me: betrayal, anger, sadness. I felt the walls of our carefully constructed life crumbling around me. Determined not to confront him in a fit of rage, I took a deep breath and made a decision. I packed a suitcase with essentials for myself and the children, leaving the incriminating email open on his laptop. I needed time to process, to decide the next steps without the immediate presence of his deceit clouding my judgment. When Daniel returned home later that night, I was waiting in the living room, our packed bags by the door. He looked at me, confusion flickering across his face. "Going somewhere?" he asked, attempting a casual tone. I forced a smile, though it didn't reach my eyes. "I hope you have fun on your trip," I replied, nodding toward the office where his laptop sat. His brows knitted together as he walked into the office. Moments later, he emerged, his face drained of color. "It's not what it looks like," he stammered. I held up a hand, stopping him. "Daniel, please. I've seen enough." Tears threatened to spill, but I blinked them back, focusing on the resolve that had taken root within me. He stepped closer, desperation in his eyes. "We can work through this, Anna. Think about the kids, our family." I shook my head, the weight of his betrayal pressing heavily on my chest. "I am thinking about them. That's why we're leaving for now. I need time, Daniel. Time to figure out where we go from here." Gathering our bags, I ushered Emily and Jake into the car, their sleepy faces filled with confusion. As I drove away from the home we had built together, a myriad of memories flooded my mind: the laughter, the shared dreams, the promises. But now, those memories were tainted, overshadowed by deceit. We stayed with my sister in Evanston, where I found solace in her unwavering support. The days that followed were a blur of emotions and difficult conversations. Daniel called and texted incessantly, pleading for forgiveness, attempting to explain. But I needed space to heal, to understand how the man I trusted most could shatter our lives so profoundly. In the quiet moments after the children had fallen asleep, I reflected on our marriage. Were there signs I had missed? Times when his affection seemed distant or his excuses too convenient. Hindsight painted a clearer picture, revealing cracks I had overlooked in the facade of our relationship. I sought counseling, both for myself and for the children, to navigate the tumultuous waters of betrayal. Through therapy, I began to rediscover my own strength, the resilience that had been buried beneath years of compromise and devotion to our family. Confronting Daniel was inevitable. We met at a neutral location, a quiet park where the children often played. He looked worn, the weight of his actions evident in his demeanor. "Anna," he began, his voice thick with emotion, "I can't express how sorry I am. I was a fool, and I betrayed the best thing in my life." I listened, letting Daniel speak. His voice cracked. He was nervous. I could tell he had rehearsed those lines. But I didn't interrupt. I wanted to hear it all. Everything. I made a mistake. It meant nothing. I was lonely, I was stressed, I stopped him. "Stop. Don't say lonely. You weren't alone. I was right there, Daniel. I was always there." He lowered his eyes. Silence fell between us, heavy and awkward. "I just need another chance," he whispered. I laughed. Not a happy laugh. The kind that escapes when pain bubbles over. "A chance for what? Another hotel room? Another colleague?" He flinched. "Good." Then came the twist I didn't expect. "She's pregnant." Everything went still. My heart stopped. Or maybe it jumped up and hit my throat. I stared at him. My ears rang. For a second, I thought I didn't hear him right. "What?" My voice was quiet, too calm. Daniel didn't meet my eyes. "She told me last week. She doesn't want anything from me. She's moving to Seattle. She's keeping it." I stood up. My body was trembling, but I didn't want to show it. I felt the world closing in. It wasn't just an affair. It wasn't just lies. It was permanent. A new life, outside of everything we built. "So what now?" I asked. "I don't know," he admitted. "I want to fix things with you. I don't want to lose our family." "Our family?" I repeated. "You already started another one." He kept insisting it was over with her. That he only slept with her a few times. That it wasn't love. But that part didn't matter anymore. The damage was done. The trust was gone. And now there was a child that wasn't mine. That wasn't ours. Later that week, I got a message. From Olivia. It came through Facebook, from a fake account with her name spelled slightly wrong. No profile picture. Just one message. "You should know, you weren't the only one. I'm not the first. There was someone before me. Ask him about New Orleans. January 2022. That wasn't a real conference." My stomach dropped. I read it again. And again. My hand went cold. I still remember January 2022. Daniel said he was speaking at a marketing summit in New Orleans. He brought home a brochure, souvenirs for the kids. Beignet. A hotel pen. He had pictures on his phone, him with other suits, standing near a podium. It all felt so real. But now, I stared at my phone, then at the ceiling. I didn't cry. I just sat there. I didn't ask Daniel right away. I wanted to see how deep this web really went. So I called the event venue. A small hotel off Canal Street, the one Daniel had stayed at. I asked about the marketing summit from January 2022. The front desk woman paused, then told me we didn't host any marketing event that month. In fact, we were closed for renovations. I hung up. That night, Daniel came by again. He brought food. He asked to talk to the kids. They missed him. He missed them. But I could barely look at him. I asked him, "Tell me about New Orleans." His fork froze halfway to his mouth. "What?" "You heard me." He tried to lie. He tried to say it was boring, that the summit was uneventful, that he hated being away. I asked again, my voice sharper this time. Where did you stay? He named the same hotel. I shook my head. Closed for renovations. He blinked. Panic washed over his face. Who told you that? I stood. Someone who was there. Someone who apparently knew you better than I did. He didn't speak. How many others, Daniel? I don't know what you're how. Many. Others. He started to cry. That's when I knew. More than one. Maybe more than two. I walked out of the room. I didn't slam the door. I didn't scream. I just walked out. I sat in the driveway under the dark sky for almost an hour. I didn't want the kids to see me break. I just stared at the streetlight, blinking through tears, realizing the man I loved was a stranger. Not just because of what he did, but because he'd been lying for years and I never knew. I still haven't told him what Olivia said. I don't know if I will. Part of me thinks he doesn't deserve to know I know. Part of me wants to watch him sweat, wondering what I'll find next. Because I am going to find more. Something tells me New Orleans wasn't the only lie. And this time, I'm not going to wait to catch him. I'm going to uncover everything. And when I do, he won't see it coming. 2 days after I confronted Daniel about New Orleans, I got a call from an unknown number. I usually ignore those, but something made me answer. Is this Anna? A woman asked, her voice low, nervous. Yes. Who is this? I don't want to get involved, but I think you need to know. My name is Marissa. I used to work with Daniel. That name didn't ring any bells. I was an intern at his firm in 2021. I was 23 at the time. I didn't know he was married until it was too late. My heart sank. She paused. I could hear her breathing. We had something. It didn't last long. He said he was separated. That you were living apart. I felt dizzy. What happened? He ghosted me. Then a few months later, I found out he was still married. I saw your family Christmas photo on his Facebook. He forgot to unfriend me. I covered my mouth. I didn't want to cry. Not again. Why are you telling me this now? Because Olivia messaged me last week. She found my name in some old company files. She said he did the same to her. Lied. Promised things. Told her you two were having problems. Said he hadn't been happy in years. I was speechless. She's angry. But mostly, she's scared. She said he told her to get an abortion at first. Then when she said no, he changed overnight. Became possessive. Controlling. She's thinking of filing for a protective order. What? She's scared he'll retaliate. She's afraid he'll come after her if she tells anyone. But she wanted you to know the truth. All of it. My mouth was dry. Why are you helping her? Because I wish someone had helped me. She hung up. That night, I didn't sleep. I sat up rereading the email from Olivia, then thinking about this new woman, Marissa. Intern. 23. Ghosted. Lied to. Used. I looked at my kids sleeping down the hall and felt this cold wave wash over me. Who was this man I married? The next day, I met with a lawyer. Not for divorce. Not yet. But I needed to know what my options were. Financially. Legally. If he started fighting for custody, would these affairs matter? What about the unborn child? The lawyer asked me, do you have proof? Yes, I said. Some. And I think there's more. So I started digging. Quietly. Calmly. I went through our shared photo cloud. I checked the metadata on some old pictures. Found one from New Orleans, a photo Daniel said was from his hotel balcony. The metadata said it was taken in a different city entirely. Cleveland. I checked our credit card statements. In January 2022, he charged 2 expensive dinners in Cleveland on back-to-back nights. One at a place called Luca, an upscale Italian restaurant. The other at a steakhouse near Lake Erie. He never mentioned Cleveland. Ever. I called the hotel listed on the bill. Asked if a Daniel last name had stayed there that weekend. The woman confirmed it. King Suite, 2 guests. I almost laughed. He lied about everything. Not just who, but where. I texted him later that day. Just said, hey, Remember Cleveland? No response. The next morning, a manila envelope was left at my sister's door. Inside? A typed letter. No signature. No return address. No handwriting. Just 3 pages. Detailed descriptions of every woman he had been with in the last 5 years. Names. Dates. Cities. Some I knew. Some I didn't. It was written like a confession. But I knew Daniel didn't write it. This wasn't his style. There was a final line at the bottom. You deserve to know what he hides. He lied to me too. I hope this helps you get free. There was a 4th woman. One I hadn't heard of yet. Melanie. And she lived here. In Naperville. Less than 2 miles from our house. I couldn't stop thinking about Melanie. A woman. In my town. Just minutes from my house. Another part of Daniel's hidden life. I didn't tell him I knew. I wanted to see how far he'd go. I was done with listening to what he chose to tell me. I wanted the whole truth. So I did something I never imagined doing. I found her. Melanie worked at a yoga studio not far from our house. I walked in one morning, pretending to inquire about classes. When I gave my name, her face didn't change, but her eyes flickered. She knew. I'm Daniel's wife, I said. Dead silence. She nodded slowly. I was wondering when this would happen. We sat down in the back office. She didn't deny anything. It started over a year ago, she said. He said you were living separately. That the divorce wasn't finalized. He told me not to post pictures. Said it would confuse the kids. She didn't even look ashamed. Maybe she was numb to it too. I found out you were still married 3 months ago. I broke it off. I believed her. There was a sadness in her voice. Like she realized she was just another chapter in a story she never meant to be part of. Before I left, she said something that stuck with me. You still love him, don't you? I didn't answer, but I thought about it all the way home. I finally called Daniel. Told him I wanted to talk. I told him to come by the house, our real house. The one we hadn't stayed in since the night I left. I wanted to face this where it all started. I waited at the kitchen table, the same spot where we'd shared morning coffee and late-night talks. Now, the silence was deafening. He walked in, cautious. Like he could feel the storm coming. Melanie says hi, I said without looking at him. He froze. I looked up. You want to lie again, or are we finally done with that? He sat down slowly. Anna. I never meant. I slammed my hand on the table. Don't you dare say you never meant to hurt me. You meant every text. Every hotel room. Every lie. You chose this. His voice cracked. I was miserable, Anna. I felt invisible. Like I didn't matter anymore. Work became everything. I was lost. You chose to be lost, Daniel. I was right there. Every damn day. He started crying. Hard. I had never seen him like that. Not even when his dad died. I ruined everything. I know that. I'll regret it for the rest of my life. We sat there in silence for a while. Just the sound of him sobbing and me breathing. Then the door opened. My sister. She'd been watching the kids for me. But I guess she came to check in. She walked in just in time to hear Daniel say something I'll never forget. I wanted to stop, but part of me liked the thrill. It made me feel powerful. My sister's jaw dropped. She looked at me like she couldn't believe what she'd just heard. I stood up. I felt hollow. Not angry. Not sad. Just done. You need to leave, I said. He didn't argue. He stood, wiped his face, and walked out. No promises. No, I'll change. Just silence. That night, I told the kids we'd be staying with Aunt Megan for a while longer. They didn't ask why. They knew something had changed. Kids always know. Over the next few weeks, people found out. Some whispered. Some offered fake smiles. Some reached out with genuine concern. One of the moms from Jake's soccer team actually pulled me aside and said, I'm so sorry. I always thought he was too smooth. Too smooth. That's who he was. There were more texts. Apologies. Offers to work on things. But I didn't respond. The last thing I did was send Daniel a letter through my lawyer. It wasn't divorce papers. Not yet. It was a list of conditions. Full transparency. Counseling. No contact with Olivia, Melanie, or anyone else from his past other lives. He hasn't responded yet. But maybe that's a response in itself. And me? Some days I wake up feeling like I can breathe again. Like I finally opened a window after years of choking on stale air. Other days, I cry in the bathroom with the shower running so the kids won't hear. I don't know if we'll end up divorced. I don't know if I'll ever trust again, him or anyone else. But I know one thing. I'll never ignore my gut again. And if he ever dares to tell another woman, she's just a colleague, I hope she looks him in the eyes and says, I know your wife. Because I'm done being quiet. And he's done hiding.